suggesting the idea that, oh yeah, see, I was supposed to tell you to do that, honey. Yeah, you got it covered. Anyhow, I want to introduce Jack Strange, and I don't think he's a stranger to anybody. And Jack is
He did
our,
there.
huh?
I said, you see what he did there? Not
Yeah,
a
it was kind of a slick
stranger.
thing. Anyhow, Jack, thank you. Stepped up to take on the role of membership chair for the district. And glad to have you, Jack. And I know that we're talking about a variety of different things on that end of it. And we'll have that on our agenda. So, Jack, you are only being introduced today as the new guy, but after that, we won't have to do that at all. So we might as well just jump right into it. Do we
Starting with the DRF, right?
Yeah, let's do that, because on the DRF we don't have Dirk Sluden here, and so that's going to be fairly a quick run through that one. And really it's going to come back around to so I'll call the DRF or the Disaster Relief Committee meeting to order. And yeah, so with that, really, it's Carol, and maybe we can jump right into your financial report on this. Carol, you're on mute. No news is good news, huh?
So there has been no financial activity at all in DRF for the first quarter. So the financial statements look exactly like they looked
Okay.
at the last quarter.
I will say that we tried to do some outreach when I was up in the Eureka area a couple of visits ago, and they had the fires up outside of Crescent City. And I was notified by one of the members there that power was cut off to the community until they could rig up some sort of generators, because I guess the high tension wires were burned out north of Crescent City. And the town was really kind of going through some changes. I did reach out and talk to a variety of different organizations up there in an effort to try and understand what the needs might be. But by the time that everybody responded back to me, and I also talked with Dirk about this, he was on a trip up in Alaska, but we were prepared to do something. But then I was notified by the club that they felt that things were pretty much under control, and appreciated the fact that we stepped up, but that there was no real great need. So that's a good thing. And I will also suggest that in a visit to Crescent City 2 weeks ago, it was the club seems to be doing really well, and the community was appreciative that we were there to actually talk to them. So with that, are there any questions with regard to the financials for the DRF? And if not, I would entertain a motion to approve those financials.
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second.
First and a second. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Evidently not. That's good. We'll move on to the next one. So district budget. Here we go. I'm looking like I have a wrong program here. 1 second. Once again, I'll call this one to order. And
One quick thing here, Tom. I think since I wasn't at the first board meeting, technically I'm the chairperson of this one, and this role would call this meeting to order.
okay. Thank you. Are you calling it to order?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much.
And Dustin should be the chairperson on the
minutes. Thank you, Carol. With that, welcome. And actually, this portion of the meeting will largely be ran by Carol and Tom. I just get the courtesy of calling it to order. So without any further ado, Carol, did you want to jump into action item 1?
Sure, absolutely. So we want to mention the fact that we did an update to the budget for 23-24. And Tom is probably going to speak to this, aren't you, Tom? We did this because we had learned some additional facts about how things were going to go for this coming year. And after meeting with the Financial Oversight Committee, we talked about the fact that the budgeting is sometimes having to be done so far in advance that we end up with numbers that don't really have a lot of meaning. And to bring things closer to reality about what is a district conference really going to cost, what is a district training assembly, where is it going to be, how much is it going to cost? Because we don't have the hindsight of the previous DG's experience for the budget, sometimes things are just done, it's wild guessing. So we said, the Financial Oversight Committee said, there's no problem at all if we want to redo the budget, as long as the presidents approve it and then the board approves it. So Tom and I worked on this. Tom had some feedback about things that he wanted to be different. So this is the new budget that he could speak to, and the presidents have approved it.
Yeah, we did have a president's meeting, and it was a unanimous vote by those in attendance, over 20 people, I believe, and saying that they would approve going forward with the new budget. I think that there's a couple of things on here that are probably zero outs. I see the Ken Moulton Leadership Academy, and we have no one that was stepping up to actually run that program this year. And I will say that I've been talking with other counterparts about programs that they have, Mark Merriam with Hawaii, and Carol Roberts. I think she's 5160. But we're not alone in trying to find alternatives to, in that situation, that was for the Leadership Academy. But one way or another, I think that we should definitely have some sort of a leadership campaign, a leadership program. But on this case, we have no program to put on this year because we don't have anyone capable who's been trained as a trainer to be able to step up and actually run that meeting. The other things are, we did shift from the district conference. We were talking about doing this at LBC, but after looking at the grounds there and the difficulties with the AV and other things, it's a decision to move this to Sally Tomatoes in Rohnert Park. And Gerard Jadus is a Rotarian, and we've been talking with him, trying to finalize our budgeting for that. With regard to our cost. I do know that, we have a fee that we would have to give up in order to walk away from LBC. But my belief is that the fee that we are going to lose on that, which is close to $5,000, will be easily offset by the savings on the other facility. So we should actually come out about $3,000 ahead by shifting from LBC to the Sally Tomatoes program. And we don't know yet what our charges will be with regard to the general membership for attending until we finalize our menu and contract with Gerard, and hopefully that can happen next week. And if not next week, then by the first part of the following week. But we're anxious, and we've been pushing to try and get this thing wrapped up for the conference registration. The other things that we have on here, I think that, in everything that we've gone through, there's probably a couple of things. We have like $10,000, I believe, that was set up for branding use. And we have a couple of programs that are going on that I'd like to be able to hold those dollars in reserve so that if there's something that clubs are doing that we can go back in and support them, I'd like to be able to do that. And I don't think that that's a great amount of money on that. For anybody who's been in any of the meetings where I've talked about two different websites that basically my company has donated these back to the district. And one of those is mentalhealth5130.org. And the other is givingtime.org. One is designated to try and promote the idea of mental health awareness throughout the district. And it's been received quite well so far. And I do feel that we have an opportunity to try to find sponsors who would be able to step up and do something with regard to that website, the Mental Health 5130, because I've had Providence made a comment on it, and I wouldn't hesitate to talk to a couple of other hospitals in the area to see if in fact we can find additional sponsors, and that would just be for promoting that particular site to the general public. So we're continuing to work on that. The other site that was donated is one that allows for clubs to post projects and seek people in the community to just come in and just help, just be a helping hand, with the idea being that if they help and they hang out with us, that we'll turn them into Rotarians at some point in time. So those are two things that are going on. So I think that when we're looking at this, you know, the total expenses that we have, and where we would be looking at a negative of $25,229. But as I said, I mean, that $10,000 that sits up there for the branding dollars, that could be something that's going to help to offset that as well. Do I have questions on any of this?
I've got a quick question.
Yeah,
Tom. Do you, just kind of off the top of your head, you know, the because I forget what my budget was for the district conference. Do you know how much you increased that by any chance?
I don't think I increased it. I believe that in fact we're lower than what we did last year with regard to Jennifer's. And Carol, can you address that at all?
Dustin, you know, I'm sorry, I don't remember what yours was. I know that Jennifer's budget ended up being like 85,000.
Okay.
On the plus and negative side. Tom's is around 50 right now. Seems to me that, and I can't remember yours at all.
No, I think it was, I mean, it was pretty, I don't think we got above 50 on it at all, I want to say.
Right.
And I was just wondering, I think it was a smart move to consider what it's going to cost in the future, because things cost money.
Yeah, and I know, Justin, I mean, as you did your program, your conference, I mean, we were just literally, that was the first live gathering that we had. And I do think that, you know, the momentum is building. I think that last year was a great conference. And the opportunity, and part of my rationale for bringing this back down into the south of the district, is to give an opportunity to try and increase the number of attendees from the largest portion of the area. And then I'm also hoping that we have the opportunity to try and invite Rotarians to allow other Rotary members to stay at their homes to avoid some of the high costs of the hotels. But I do know that Deborah Robertson, who is the president of the Sunrise Club, and Deborah has also stepped up as the chair of the conference, and primarily working on the negotiation with Gerard, and also in trying to secure some of the hotels down in the area. So I know that the hotels are less expensive, some of the ones that we've been talking about. I gotta say that I'm shying away from the DoubleTree. Jim gets the pleasure of bringing in 8 districts to the DoubleTree for his event, which will happen in 25. But I'm not really in support of them right now, based on the the cost, just the cost for somebody to come in and stay there. And I think that we can have some great alternatives, and they are there. So will be more to come on that. But and right now, I think we're good on that number. Now there is another increase, I think, on the district training assembly, or are we just still at the $10,000?
We budgeted for $10,000. Jim actually is working on some numbers and has some numbers that he thinks are real. I don't know whether you want to say anything about that, Jim. I haven't even looked at him yet. I'm sorry, I've been.
Yeah, I said we have a budget, and it's a balanced budget. I thought it was the expense was. I'd have to look it up, but yeah, I'd need a minute to get it. I think it was like 14,000, but it was a balanced budget between we're going to charge $60 for the day instead of 50. Yeah. But it's all worked out. It's a break even, so we're in good shape. And since I have the floor, Tom and Carol, my question is, when would be a good time to set up next year's budget? One, just so we have it, but two, so perhaps avoiding a little bit of the number crunching during next year.
Yeah, well, I think as Carol addressed a little earlier, I mean, we can go ahead and we can sit down and try to get that happening even this year. I mean, as early as you want on it. And that would be great. But then I do think that we need to look at it, and you're going to have it approved by your presidents at the PETS program. In our case last year, because of the transition with treasurer and all, we didn't get an opportunity to get that approved until the district training assembly. So, you know, if we go back to trying to get this thing back on track and we're doing it at the PETS program, then I think at that point we should be flexible after that. Just the same that we had to make an adjustment, we'll be flexible after that, but trying to nail down the numbers that we can to give you a good idea walking into that, your PETS program in March. I think, you know, time-wise, Carol, I mean, what's your thought?
Tom, we started working on your budget in December last year. Mm-hmm. So Jim, I think anytime we can do it anytime this coming quarter. I mean, I'm still in favor of you know, having us meet on a regular basis to go over stuff, and working on your budget would be fine. I'm available anytime.
Okay, good. Well, we'll set that up between the three of us. I just looked up the number for DTA right now. That's balanced is 13,000.
Okay.
So, but that's easy. Yeah, let's we'll figure out a time to meet, Carol.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jim, when I started working on mine, I sat in with it was then Doug who was creating his budget, and Ashley was treasurer. I kind of sat in with them doing theirs, and then had a loose kind of a rough draft, and then adjusted as needed going forward. Obviously mine was way different because it was kind of the tail end of the COVID years, so it was really unpredictable. But earlier, you know, you're going to save yourself a headache getting ahead of it, which it sounds like you're doing. So
yeah.
Carol and Jim, can you include me too in that meeting just so I can learn?
Yeah, I was just going to suggest that, Christine. Okay. I think that'd be great.
Thanks.
Also, Tom, and everyone, there is the subject along with this of increasing district dues.
Yes.
And we don't want that to get away from us, so we need the timing of that and how we implement that.
It's not going to get away from us. We are all, I think, aware of that, and we have been very transparent about sharing that with the clubs that it's coming forward. The president's meeting, even this last one that I was in for a minute with Tom, it was mentioned there. So people know that that's coming, but it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Are you letting folks know, Carol, that this is all Tom Boylan?
Yes. I put all the blame on Tom, but I say that poor Jim is going to have to implement it, and you know.
See how
Thank you, Jim. Yeah. And by the way, Christine, do you know that Jim is going to recommend that we also raise the dues again in your year?
No.
Yeah, you just blame that on Jim. But I do think I don't think that's totally offhand. I mean, I do think that we've talked about this, that if we do small increments, then it's easier to deal with. But the reality is that we haven't raised the dues since 2013. And we all know that there's a bit of inflation and other things that have gone on. And as tough as that is on some costs, those costs are reflected back over to our expenses as well. And I do think that having some small minimal increase over the next couple of years, as long as it's not my year, is really, it's a solid idea for the district, and it'd get us on much stronger footing to where we can be a little bit more comfortable on some of the things for the district training assembly and other things that we're trying to do. So, yeah. Any other on the finance?
No, like, great job on doing this. I do have a something I want to bring up, but I can probably bring it up during our general board meeting. So after this, but it does have to do with the budget. So I'll just hold off on that.
Okay.
Okay, so then we do need the board to approve this budget.
I'll make a motion to approve. Oh, sorry, I call for the motion, right? Can I get a motion to approve?
I'll second.
Who was that, Mike? Is that Michael?
Yeah, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
And who was the first?
Dustin, right?
I think since I'm chair, I can't.
I'll be the first. That's fine.
Okay, Christine, thank you.
Perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. That's passed.
Okay, we're going to move on now then to financial statements. And we have financial reports for the district. So here we go. Our cash accounts, our operating account looks a lot healthier because everybody paid their dues, or almost everybody. So that's a great thing. Our district grant account looks, hold on one second or I'm going to lose somebody here. Pat's trying to get out the door.
So maybe you had a prisoner or something tied up. One of my prisoners is escaping.
They're tied up in the corner of the room. The district grants account looks nice and healthy because we did get the money in for our district grants for 23-24. We have a new bank account called Rotary Peace Conference 2025, which actually is considered a district bank account. The bank account is actually belongs to the Windsor Rotary Community Foundation, which we're using because it's a 501c3, but it's going to show on the district's books, and it's how we're going to have the money come in and out for the peace conference so that things are deductible for people that want to do sponsorships and donations. We have, if moving down in RILA, we ended up the year with a little over $5,000 in the checking account after all the expenses were paid, which is great. And Cassie has started acquiring some new things that she needed to replace, bins that were falling apart for storage, and some new t-shirts, and she's already working for stuff for next year, and she's spending a little bit of that money, and she's very respectful. She sends Tom and me emails and says, can I spend this money? She's great. Here's Youth Exchange. So there's money in there, and Rotex. Rotex is starting to have a little bit of a change, and there's still some money in Western Safari. These are our reserves, which is in balance. So here's accounts receivable. That amount is 2 clubs that had not paid district dues at September 30th. One of them has now paid. There's still one outstanding, but I am in touch And you will see a schedule as we move on. We'll also look at the schedule for what's on there for event deposits. That includes the DoubleTree and some venue deposits that we've got going forward. I'm going to keep going. Liabilities, we have a schedule for that. That's Tom and Jim, actually. Our credit card has a little bit on it that we use that credit card for automatic payments like bill.com, which is how we pay our bills. The QuickBooks software gets billed to that. So things that are automatically charged to the district get paid on the credit card. So that's the balance sheet or the statement of financial position. Here's where we were for receivables at September 30th and right now. So Fort Bragg has paid. Ferndale I'm assured that I will have the check by the end of the month. I will mention at this point, because I don't have any other place to necessarily mention it, I am going to be coming up with a kind of a little cheat sheet guidelines for club treasurers. There is still a lot of confusion for people between what is RI dues and what is district dues. And they think that when they've paid one, they've paid the other. And so I get a lot of very, well, we paid that and it was check number 456 and yada yada. And I say, well, that's good. That was to somebody else, not to me. So I'm gonna try to do a little educational outreach there.
That's smart, because that's nothing new. That's been going on for a long time now, actually. So
Yeah.
I think it's going to be going on for a long time. Here's the breakdown of our event deposits. So that 17,000 will stay in deposits for this Rotary year. And then next year, this will become part of what is going to pay for that peace conference. So we have it on the peace conference budget. We have it in there as a loan from District 5130. Hopefully we'll get a lot of it back. But that's where it is right now. And we've got this deposit for Luther Burbank Center. And as Tom was saying, we're hoping to get, we probably are not going to get any of that back. May have to pay a little bit more for canceling and moving to Sally Tomatoes. Here's the River Lodge facilities rental so this is really ahead of time, district conference in 2025. And here's the foundation dinner, $500 refundable deposit. That's for the foundation dinner coming up in next week. I'm just going to keep moving if there aren't any questions. Here's our AP aging summary. So these were amounts due to Tom, and I have a credit for Jim. Just to let you know that I do keep track of all this stuff, right? Yeah. Here's our profit and loss. So this is what we actually billed the clubs. 83,700 and 18,600 went toward the conference assessment.
That's another area that we're talking about increasing next year, rather than 10, that will go up to 15 on the conference.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about what we're going to do there, right? We have a little bit of RILA income. So that is a club that has already prepaid for another club, saying we don't have a RILA person of our own, but we want to put some money in for next time for the next guy. I want to talk later about Western Safari and the timing of the income, just because of when it happens, because it straddles our years. So it's a little hard to account for this. So you'll see income coming in and expenses going out. And these all have to do with last year. They don't have anything to do with the current year. And technically on an accrual system, they should have been recorded and reported by 6/30. So they could have been included in last year's tax return. And that didn't happen. It's not the end of the world, but it's not as clean as it might be. Here's our block grant from TRF, the Rotary Foundation. This is for our district matching grants, 126,000 for this year. We have received that. This is the RI subsidy that the district governor gets every year to help offset district governor expenses. It was 13,968. Jennifer's was close to that. Jennifer's, I think, was 14. Here's expenses that have happened so far. Nothing super unusual.
Hey,
You
Carol,
know,
can I ask a quick question?
Of course, interrupt
Hi.
me at any time.
So I added another expense to my spreadsheet. I'm not sure it's reflected here. I got my airfare for the
Singapore.
Zone Institute,
Singapore.
and I'm not sure if
Oh.
you've seen that one yet, just so you know.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
it may be
So-
included here. I haven't seen the check yet, and we haven't discussed that one, so I just put that in the last 2 weeks.
It isn't recorded here because I haven't processed it yet, because
That's okay.
I've been a little swamped,
I
but
figured you were. I just wanted to make sure you knew that I had that was my last expense recently submitted.
yeah. So I'm writing myself a note that
Okay.
says Christine San Diego.
Yes, I got the flight a little later because I wasn't sure where I'd be coming from at the time, but that's all done. So thank you.
That's great. No problem. Please, yeah, interrupt me anytime, you guys, because I'm looking at the numbers. I'm not looking at your faces. So these are the DG line expenses so far in the first quarter. We have a few foundation dinner expenses that have already been booked. Of course, that'll come next week. These are the expenses. So the youth exchange, Rotex, and Western Safari expenses are handled in a separate set of books. And I booked those with a journal entry into this set of books. And this just tells you what's going on over there. This time I am gonna present the youth exchange books. We'll be looking at those in a few minutes. A little bit coming in on district training assembly. Here's what's coming up, or what we've spent on general administration. So software, I will tell you, is going up fast. So QuickBooks raised their prices again. I just paid for one of the sets of books. We have 3 in the district, and it's like a $9.50 now each. So it's getting chunky, and then DAC-DB and all that. So there's a lot going on there. So our net income so far, and of course this looks great because of the district grants, 217. Now I'm going to go down and show you the same thing, but this is split out by class. So it's the breakdown, and you all have access to this and opportunity to look at it. I'm happy to answer questions about it anytime. I don't know exactly, if there are any questions, ask them. Program stuff is kind of normal. This is the reserves. Here's the grants. And this is where we stand right now. It's all pretty normal. There hasn't been a lot of activity. This one gets a little bit harder to look at. And it's probably easier if you look at it on your own screen. But so this is a budget to actual by each of the classes. So you can say, okay, this is what we budgeted for district dues. Here's the actual. Here's whether we're over under budget. There isn't a lot to go ooh-ah about at this point because, like I said, there has been so little activity during the first quarter. Any questions on any of that so far? Okay, well, that's the financial report. We talked about accounts receivable, event deposits, accounts payable. And then I was going to go show you the youth exchange stuff. And that is, see if I can get to it. the board had asked a while back to have more detail and more visibility into youth exchange. And so I asked them to put in their budget and told them that we were going to be sharing this during the meeting. So that's what we're doing. So this is the balances in their bank accounts. So they have 3 bank accounts. Accounts receivable is some, I'm not even sure what that money's for. So I don't know what it's for. That's the balance sheet. Here's the profit and loss statement. We're going to look at the budget in a minute. This doesn't, I would like to see more detail on this, but I also am not the one doing the work. So it's an interesting, in other words, I can't, registration fees, I don't know what that's registration fees for until I look at the next sheet. So let's go look at the next sheet, which tells us this is by class. And so what they've done is we've got Rotex in its own class, Western Safari in its own class, and then Youth Exchange is broken out into several different areas: general operation, outbound processing, summer orientation, and the inbounds is just under the general Youth Exchange. So you can see the contributions from clubs. So this is Western Safari. So that 2179 is really from last year. Okay. And then here's registration fees. So this is, is this registration for inbound people? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I asked for a time to get together to go over some of this, and I was given a time that was available next week. So I wasn't able to get it for this meeting. These are just some of the numbers you see. And then here's the budget to actual. So they do have a budget in there. And I think it's more to, they could explain it better than I, but like I said, I didn't have an opportunity to speak with them about it.
And why don't we plan on doing this? You have your conversation with them, and then we can ask for one of the representatives, Hyder or one of his team, to actually sit in with us on the next board meeting.
Okay. There was an interesting thing here, and that it was that there was nothing in the budget for the fundraising for the golf tournament that they've done every year for quite a while. And I said to them, what's happening? There's nothing on here. And they said, we're not going to do that next year. So I don't know whether they've just decided that they have enough money and they don't need to fundraise in that way, that they're going to do it a different way. Again, I don't have an answer. So I think that's a great idea, Tom, that we would invite them. And so, but this is available, and I think it's great that we have it, and we've got it. So that's a good thing. So that's what I know about Youth Exchange. Any questions about that? Or Tom, I think to your point, I'm just going to make a next time. Our next.
So this is Mike.
Mike.
So what is our overall responsibility with that organization? Do we have oversight, or are we just?
It isn't a separate organization. It's us.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So we do have some oversight.
We have lots of oversight.
Okay.
It's the thing about Youth Exchange, and I know very little, because remember, I'm a new person. I'm new to the district, and I haven't been involved I've been a host parent a couple times, but that's it. It's a very transaction intensive endeavor because there's a lot of dealing with inbound parents and outbound parents and money coming in for this and
Right.
permission slips. And so there's a lot of stuff that goes on. And those volunteers have been doing it. A lot of the folks that have been doing it have been doing it for a long, long time. And they're pretty experienced. And so they have their way of doing it, and they haven't been real happy about having me ask questions. So I feel like I don't want to, to be honest, I don't want to piss anybody off. So that, because I don't want people getting mad and saying, well, if she's going to put that much pressure on me, I'm just not going to do it anymore and walk off. And it's
And
like,
she might tie you up in the corner and not let you
Yeah.
escape.
But, you know, Carol, I've seen the communications between you and Rotary Youth Exchange, and I think that the leader, the two individuals that primarily that you've been dealing with, I think are very amenable to what your needs are, and very much, again, this is that whole the transition out of the COVID time, the delay of the program, the ongoing now of the program. This is our opportunity to try and make change that's going to be lasting. So I think that I'd be confident that you're going to get a good response and you're not going to piss anybody off.
that's good.
Can I add one more point to just kind of Michael's inquiry, is that ultimately the district's responsible for these students. So kind of we have this responsibility of oversight, even though it's a kind of a club thing. We're pretty much responsible for these kids if something goes wrong. If everything goes right, no one cares about us. If something goes wrong, we're on the hook for it. So Carol's questions are super important, and it's super important that we have this transparency and this oversight, because ultimately the buck stops with us.
Yeah.
From Outlook calendar quest at 10 o'clock in 15 minutes.
Okay, I'm gonna go to the update. I
Great.
skipped one. So we had some really good news recently. I provided the board with an update last time at the board meeting about what our situation was with our standing with the Registry of Charitable Trusts, and I added to that this time. The good news is that we had suggested by past district governor Kathy Flamson at our financial oversight meeting, said, why don't you go to our representative, Senator Mike McGuire, and ask for his assistance and his office's assistance with the Department of Justice to see if you can get some action. And we did that. Tom actually talked to Senator McGuire about that, and we did it, and we are starting to see some movement. So this is a miracle, an absolute miracle. We just got confirmation that they have finally pulled apart the two districts, the two district entities on the district, the Department of Justice website that were entangled. They've separated them, put the federal tax ID number with us where it belongs, and there is hope. There's hope, and this is good because this has been going on since March. So this is a very good news. You can read all of this detail. Does anyone have any questions about this? There's reason to rejoice.
I just want to say thank you, Carol. I mean,
Yeah.
I only had to make a phone call, but Carol, thank you for all that you've been doing with it. But Michael, did you have a question?
No, I was just gonna say, I've had to deal with them for another organization I'm involved in. And it's been a 2-year process. So it was very good to see all the detail and all the effort that went into trying to get this rectified.
Yeah.
Great job, Carol.
Well, we're not there yet, but we're close. We're
Yeah.
close.
This
Oh, good.
close.
Hey, Carol, I
Okay.
think we need to back up and get approval on the financial statements.
I'm sorry.
Please.
Yes.
Great. Can I get a motion for approval of the financial statements as reported?
So
I'll make a
moved.
motion. Oh, second. Michael, first, Tom, second.
Got it.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Any opposed? The motion passes.
Good. Sorry for jumping the gun. And then
Excited,
the,
that's all.
the final thing here is we did have a meeting with the Financial Oversight Committee that used to be called the Audit Committee. And we met at Ashley's office up in Eureka. So Kathy Flamson and I drove up for the day, met with Ashley and Brad, and went over the financial statements as of 6:30 and talked about procedures. And so the purpose of the Financial Oversight Committee is to not only review financials, that's kind of a minor piece, but more importantly, to talk about the financial procedures and how the clubs are doing and how the financial framework of the district is functioning. So we came up with these recommendations for the board. And so this is a report that is submitted to the board about what the committee thinks and how it feels. So this is too long to go into in too much detail, but there were a couple of things that I thought were important. One is what we've already talked about, which is if an update to the current budget is in order, there was absolutely no problem seen to just present another budget, get it approved and move on with your life. No, nobody should feel constrained with, gosh, I came up with this budget 10 months ago and now I know too much more and it doesn't fit anymore. So they said, don't worry about that. Just go through the approval process and it's all good. There was a question about partner reimbursements and what that should look like for the DG line. So in a situation where the district conference is, or the Rotary Convention is in London or Singapore or whatever, what is covered, what is not covered? And they wanted more detail about, you know, if I take my husband, is he covered? Are his meals covered? Just what is specifically? So they wanted the AP&Ps to specifically call that out, and right now they don't. So that's something that we should look at during this coming year. This was a big thing of mine, and the idea is that when something is in a budget, if we have a budget that says, okay, I'm going to bring in 10,000 in revenue and spend 10,000, so we're supposed to have mostly net zero events, that the person who is the event chair, so it may not be somebody in the DG line, it may be somebody else, that person has to take responsibility for the budget and staying within the budget. It isn't enough to say, oh, well, this came in higher than I thought, or, oh, well, it's just, we need to be real time paying attention to what our financial commitments are. So the group felt pretty strongly about that. There was also a concern that the disaster relief fund monies that were reserved for certain counties are sitting there and could be used for preparedness education. I know we've spoken about that at other board meetings. There was some real, why doesn't this get more play? And is this something that the AGs need to be pushing out more? Having clubs have more visibility to things that could be done in their communities, that this money is available.
I think before, I would like to see what that program would look like. What is the training? How would that work? And is that Dirk that we would turn to and say, you know, can you put your committee together on that? to tell us, well, what kind of a training program can we do? You know, I sense that if we're just talking about this training in an effort to try and offset the dollars that we're seeing in that particular area for the dollars that we're sitting on, I'm going to be a believer that we're going to be seeing more disasters. And unfortunately, I have a feeling that we'll be seeing disasters of greater depth. And so having those dollars in reserve, to me, still make a lot of sense. Unless somebody comes up with a program that says, hey, this is a disaster preparedness education program. And maybe it's just an opportunity to try and find individuals in the different counties and have them gather together to talk about what to do, much like when Crescent City said, hey, we're being inundated with the fires and our power's out, and what do we do with that? I think at that point, it would have been great to have some sort of an understanding about where do you go? What are the resources before, and at what point do we kick in and actually say, yes, we have dollars to spend, and how are we going to do that? So I'd like to see some more clarity on what that would look like, disaster preparedness. That's my thought.
Yeah, I have one comment around this too, because I think there's a tendency for this fund specifically to think it's for fires and fires only. And we've had, you know, we used it for the earthquake up in Humboldt County most recently. But the more awareness, I think, for the AGs and for the clubs, letting them know that they have access to this for anything, I think is pretty important. Because, like I said, people only seem to like remember it's there once we have something major happen, but it's there for other kind of stuff too, and every disaster you can pretty much think of. So it's not just a fire thing, and I think education around it at the assembly and maybe just reminders at other places is super important.
Hey, you know, I just want to jump on this because I really agree with both Tom and Dustin. I on both points. Who do we? This is the audit committee, so bringing it back to them is one thing. Who do we direct both of these? I won't say questions, but comments back to, so that we can implement, you know, what we're talking about. I like what Dustin said about, you know, what if there's a small disaster in Petaluma? I'm not, you know, a single family home burns down, and is that a disaster that we could utilize these funds? I don't think anybody is aware of that at all. And then to Tom's point, if there is education, you know, what kind are they requesting for? And that, to me, I was thinking that would come from the club, you know, if they wanted to do some kind of disaster relief education, and then they would get a grant from this fund. So I guess my long point is, where are we tying the communication in on this? So, and I don't know how that is answered.
Jim, I think that, again, I go back to Dirk and think about, you know, I mean, he's got a committee, and these folks have done a really good job jumping into action in the past. And I think explaining to him, you know, look, can we put together some kind of a, if nothing else, if it's going to be disaster preparedness education for club presidents and for AGs, that they understand what the process is. And I don't know if we have something drafted that says, what does equal a disaster? You know, what is that? And that's, again, I would probably go back over and work with Dirk to try and see if they could get the definition of that and be able to give us more direction on how we can go forward. Let me ask a quick question. Michael, you're going to have to leave pretty soon.
No, my meeting got canceled. So
oh, okay, great. Well, stick around. And I don't have to worry about our quorums and all that. Okay, great. Thank you.
If I could jump in for a second. So because the funds are restricted by county, The pieces of the disaster relief fund is restricted by county. Maybe under Dirk, and maybe he already has done this, maybe it makes sense for the clubs that are in a specific county to have some sort of, to get together and say, what do we do? Is there something that we would do to either support each other, or something that we see a need right now, where maybe it could be a local thing by county, to just, I don't know, just.
Well, again, I'm gonna go back over and I'm gonna suggest that we've had a really strong disaster relief committee. And I would look to them, and we can sit here and conjecture all we want about, oh, well, maybe we could do this, or maybe, but I'd like to be able to have them focus on it and give them the cred that they have, that they've earned over time. And I do believe that that would be a wonderful opportunity to have a discussion with them and have a conversation. So possibly, again, we can put this down for our next meeting, when we would have Dirk hopefully in town, and we can explain to them at that point that what we're looking to try to do. And that way we pave the way so that as Jim starts his year, we would actually potentially have something in place to talk about where disasters are. And let's just hope like we have no disasters between now and whenever that conversation happens.
Right. Okay, I'm gonna keep moving on. Realize this is a committee report, and the committee is reporting to the board and saying to the board, if you want to do, you know, this is what we think. If you want to do something, do something. If you don't, you don't. I mentioned that we're talking about the Western Safari was late, and we ended up with expenses in the wrong year. I'm going to work with them, and I think that, as Tom was mentioning, getting Hyder and Mark together and figuring out a way that we can just get some transactions in faster. And I think that's an accounting thing, and that's good. What else? This is all good. I don't see anything else on here. I already mentioned that we decided for the peace conference that's happening in Jim's year, we are going to use a club's bank account. At the time that we had this meeting, we did not have permission to use Rotary Club of Windsor's 501c3, but we do now, and we are, and life is good. And that's what we have from the Financial Oversight Committee. It used to be called the Audit Committee, but we changed the name last year. So it is called the Financial Oversight Committee. So that's it.
Great. Any other, thank you so much, Carol. You put all kinds of work into this. So just a super thank you. It's really nice to see all this. Any other items for discussion before we motion to adjourn? Okay, if there aren't any, can I get a motion to adjourn our finance meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn our finance meeting.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Christine. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved, and that closes our meeting. Thank you all. Back to you, Tom.
Back over to me, huh? Yeah, all right. Thanks, Destin. All right. Well, I'd like to call our meeting of the Board of Directors, October 21st, to order. And again, we've already gone through and welcomed Jack back into this. Action item number one, I just wanted to say that we reached out and we had talked in the past about the Emerging Rotary Leader Program. Hey, Michael. Oh, okay.
I just Was coughing, sorry.
No problem. Anyhow, we talked about the emerging Rotary leader, and I had made one invitation, and with some of the requirements of the Institute for the Rotary leaders, emerging Rotary leaders to show up early, we lost that one person, but then found Valerie Pistoli Walker with Sonoma Valley is going to be in attendance at the Institute as an emerging Rotary leader, and had a great conversation with Valerie. I'm excited to have her there. And I do think that, there is something that when you start talking about your budgets for next year, Jim, I mean, there was no way that we could afford to send 2 people, although that was our initial intent. But there was no way to be able to do that. Basically, it's always been our scene to go ahead and cover the cost of our emerging Rotary leaders in its entirety for the housing, for the travel time, and their whatever their meal scenario goes. And but the cost on this particular institute, I think, was too great, and so I'm delighted that Valerie's going to be doing it. I wanted to have a quick discussion about the Excellence in Service Award, which really is a Rotary International program. I have received at least 3 different recommendations for individuals in our district to be submitted to Rotary International, but I don't know that I get to submit all 3. I think, it's going to come back down to just one. And, Dustin, have you got any kind of background on how this works, or whether or not there's limitations that we have on this?
I'm not entirely sure, actually. It's a little foggy to me.
Okay. I know that Valerie, thank you, Valerie, went out and grabbed some information, brought it back. I'll go ahead and pursue a conversation with some other DGs, my counterparts, to find out what their scenario is. But it's I know that we've gotten 3, like I said, 3 different calls to recommend people back into Rotary International. If I can send all 3, I'd be happy to do that. One of them is not a Rotarian, but she was recognized by Rotary, by other Rotarians, as somebody that would be that we should consider. But I'll find out what more of the details are on that. I have to do this by the end of the month. So if worst case, well, it's not a worst case scenario. I mean, I'll just take take advantage of that. If I find that I can only do one, then I'll just pick that one. I don't believe that this is a situation where I have to come back to the board. I'm just having this conversation because I was unsure about the direction of how you go about and do this.
I'm pretty sure it's just an application and it's your nomination.
Right. So it's not a situation where I can put multiple applications in. It's just yeah. And I have that link too. So, well, I'll do that, and I'll announce to you all who I chose at the next board meeting, if not sooner. Okay, item number 2. That's the move to accept the financial reports submitted by the Finance Committee. Can I get a motion?
So moved. Or
Second.
I motion to approve.
Second by Michael. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Great.
Hey, Tom,
Yeah.
excuse me. There was a motion and a second on the first action item. Do we need to do that for Valerie Pistol Walker?
Oh, no, I don't believe that we need to have a motion on well, let's just do it anyway. Can I get a motion to approve Valerie Pistoli Walker with Sonoma Valley as our emerging Rotary leader?
Also move.
Christine
Second.
says, and second there by Dustin. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great, thank you. Okay, info item, Governor's environmental citation incentives. And I believe that Barbara McChesney is on her way back, if she's not back already, from her 3-week excursion down the Amazon. But we opted to go ahead with a $600 incentive for clubs that get involved with the environmental program. And she has reduced the number of items. Last year, there were 12 items she had. This year, there are 4 items that a club can focus on. And it seems like most of the clubs that I've been talking to, 33 so far, are enthusiastic about the opportunity to try and do something for the environment. So it's just letting you know that that's the one that's out there. Info item number 2, Ken Moulton leadership. As I mentioned earlier, it's unfortunate, and I think it really tells us something that we have Wolf and Maureen Merrill primarily as the 2 people who have been trained to be the leaders in this. Past leaders had been people like David McDonald. I actually went through this coursework myself too. But I think that we should try to expand on the number of people that are involved with this leadership as far as the training side of it, so we don't get caught short again. Other governors that I'm talking to in other districts do talk about their leadership academy, which is reduced down to 2 days versus the program that we had in place, which was close to 8 months, which is just, in my opinion, and I think in the opinion of the majority of the people who signed up for that, it's just way too much. Too much to try and absorb, too much to try to commit to. And so I am searching for that perfect scenario for a leadership academy that we can put in place that would be a much shorter program and still give people an opportunity to try and step up and become the leaders of tomorrow. Yes.
Yeah, so just so I'm clear then, so we have within the district training assembly, which we do every year. And then we have the Ken Moulton Leadership Academy, which has kind of been on pause for, have we executed that?
I don't know that it might have been executed during Jennifer's year. But that Leadership Academy, the Ken Moulton Leadership Program, is really one that reinforces personal strategies for stepping up to become a leader. And how many people in this group have attended those? Yeah. So I think that that is really just trying to get people to understand the how people interact, the differences of personalities, how to be a leader in a scenario. But it is not the same as the Leadership Academy that we had endorsed in the past. That academy was more
like the Rotary College.
Right. Yeah. And Rotary College. And I do think that that we can be a lot more succinct on that and be able to give people an opportunity to explore. Now that we have such a strong learning center at Rotary, myrotary.org, I mean, I think that there are videos, there are training elements that are there. We should reinforce to the clubs, and I'll reach out to Valerie to do that too, to push that back out and say, look, due to situations where, lack of personnel for it this year, we're not doing this particular leadership program. However, we could suggest this, and this as far as some of the videos that you can look at so that you can consider advancing into a leadership role within the district. I'll also say that I know, and I got to thank you, Christine. I know Doug sent out his notice about, our need for somebody to step up and say, yeah, I'd like to be the district governor.
Yeah.
And then I also sent out a message right shortly after that, just announcing what a joy it really is, and that it doesn't. And I'm a working guy. And I feel that, you know, you can do this, and you can be rewarded in so many ways. And then Christine followed up with that with her letter, which was a really powerful letter,
thank you.
because I do think that we need to continue to push the idea that leadership matters, and in this district. And it's not so much that we're trying to put the thumb on any club or any member, but that we're just trying to be there to reinforce the support that Rotary International gives to the governor line,
Right.
and to try and open and expand that. So
And I did get a few really nice responses from people that I didn't know. And so hopefully it, you know, it was from the heart, and I just wrote it and decided, well, put it out there and see what happens.
Yeah, it was interesting. I read something just yesterday, actually. I was looking up something to find out how many times a president can actually hold that position, you know, in Rotary. And while doing that, I came across a really solid piece that talked about the idea that a district governor can actually be a working person, and that the commitment of time and everything can be manipulated in such a way. And I just think that we do the wrong thing when people, I mean, Melody, my wife, has been told by others when she said, yeah, my husband is a district governor, and they said, oh, well, congratulations, but my condolences. And I think that's the wrong tone. I really do. But I think that it's a tone that has been pretty much used over the years to say, oh my God, you're going to be so wiped out. You know, it's not. It's just not that. It's not that. I can't say it's not that bad. It is better than good. It's a great opportunity, and I hope that we can all be enthusiastic with Rotarians in our district to be able to say, yeah, we could use your leadership. We need you to step up and get involved and have fun. And Darren, I know someday we'll get Darren. Governor Darren. That has a nice ring to it, doesn't it?
Governor Darren.
Yeah.
I vote for Governor Darren.
You never know.
You never know. Good.
I'll get
so-
it. Don't worry.
So is that something
Thanks.
that's going to come up though
Yeah.
at like district training though, is kind of our encouragement, and that, you know, something like that, something visible to people who are obviously in.
Yeah,
going to
I would
trainings?
hope so, Jim. I mean, if you're going to give me an opportunity at least to address anything at your training assembly, that might be the topic that I would come back with, just to suggest that, you know, this is a great opportunity for us to do bigger things in the district, and to be a participant in a program that's really very limited. I mean, there's only 526 governors in the world, for crying out loud. I mean, what an honor, right, Dustin? I mean, you know,
Yeah.
it's an honor to be here. And I think that we need to just keep pushing that out. So, Jim, I can work with you, and I can pay you money under the table if I have to make sure that you say, yeah, Tom, I'll give you a couple of minutes.
Well, Tom, I was, you know, district training is a full day event. I did pencil you in for 3 minutes. And shortly before the first session. So when folks are starting registration, you'll be talking.
Yeah.
But we can see if I can perhaps give you another 30 to 45 seconds.
Yeah.
Because I think this is a valuable topic.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. You are so kind. I you know, thank you for your leadership. Anyway. All right. Let's see.
Hey, Tom, can we go back?
Yeah.
I wrote down, you said 6, going back to the one before, the environmental citations.
Right.
Incentives. You mentioned $600. What is that?
That is the reward. The citation comes with a $600 grant to the club for doing their environmental program.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
And I need to talk to Barbara. Most presidents have heard about it and know about it, and say, as I asked them, have you heard from Barbara and the environmental committee with regard to the incentives? And for the most part, people have heard of it. But I'll go back when she's back in town and situated, and tell her, please make sure that let's put this back out there again, so that everybody knows exactly what it is that we're looking at with it. So
Thank you.
yeah. And so since they're not here, Jennifer nor Barbara, I'll just say that, again, that's what I'm going to be asking them to do, to give us the update, or give us the incentive program so that we can make sure that it's in place and it's throughout the district. Christine, what have you been up to?
Hi, guys. So hold on just a second. I'm just pulling up my report here. So I have done a lot since July. There's a lot of meetings, but I had sent out a report and I think it was attached in the attachment, so I won't make you read through all of that. But some of the things that I've been working on, obviously registered for the DGN training and the Zone Institute, got all that submitted, and we'll be going down there for the week in about a month. I've been going to all of the line meetings, both zone and district. I'm taking notes at our DGN, our DG line meetings for Tom and Jennifer and myself and Jim. And let me see what else I wanted to highlight here. I went to the Giants game on September 7th as a representative of Rotary, and was also sort of a fly on the wall for the convention city nomination meetings. So that's kind of exciting. I'm not sure, Tom, do we know when they're going to announce that, when that's decided?
I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
don't know either.
Jim, you know?
Yeah, Jim, do you know?
Well, if they'll,
Yeah, they're gonna announce that January or February is
Okay, cool.
the time for that.
Yeah, it would be great if it happens. So that was really fun, and it was fun being at sort of a larger event as a Rotarian and as a district governor nominee. In September,
Can
I
I
also
ask you a question?
Yes,
Did
go
you
right
have any
ahead.
sort of feeling from them about whether they were feeling optimistic towards San Francisco, or did you get any sort of that?
Yeah, I wasn't at all of the weekly events, but at the game itself, of course, it was a beautiful night and we were in a nice part of the city. I mean, sadly, San Francisco is not the most pleasant place to be right now. It's got a lot of homeless and there's a lot of problems, right? But I think when I talked to some of the attendees, they had a really nice week in the city and they were really pleased with the events. And we really made a good showing as a city, but I didn't get a sense of sort of where we are in the running. But I know it was very successful, no major incidents, and it was beautiful weather, and the game was fantastic, and we won. So that was cool.
well, we'll get to see that one. All right, I'm going to. What did I do here? Yeah. Okay.
And then just a couple more things. Just we're at 54% of the goal for the Singapore convention. We're at 27 out of 50 attendees, so I'll keep promoting that. And Tom, you already talked about the email that I sent out about DG nominees or prospective nominees. So that's it.
Great. Well, thank you. Jim.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, good. I'm on. So,
okay. Well, thank you, Jim. It's been nice, and we'll move on. Oh, sorry. Just thinking about that 3-second rule. Okay, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, you're down to 2 seconds. So, yeah, briefly, continue to work on the peace conference. Again, thanks to Carol. We do have a chair person who's Sheila Hurst. She's in District 5150. And between Sheila and Carol and myself, we're kind of the main team, I guess we call it. And but we're getting a lot of support from the other districts. We did a walkthrough with about 10 or 12 of us at the Doubletree a couple of weeks ago. That went really well, and I think it boosted everyone's confidence that we're going to be able to pull this off. And so we're doing well. One thing I wanted to reach out to all of you is that the main roadblock I think we have right now is finding some marquee keynote speakers. We have been asking folks, but not getting the commitments. So if you know and can help in any way of finding folks who may be able to be a keynote speaker during that weekend, let me know, or we can discuss. It would be a situation where we would need help in reaching out to that person. And again, we've been building a list, but we haven't we're not at the stage for getting commitments yet. We have lots of ideas for session speakers, And I think that will come together pretty well. But it's getting those marquee speakers that has been a real challenge. One is the timing. You know, some aren't willing to commit, 15 to 18 months ahead of time. The other challenge, of course, is the cost. But I'm putting it out there because it's something we need. It's help we need. But all other aspects of the event are coming together really, really well. And if we can get those key speakers in place in the next couple of months, 2 to 3 months, I think we're going to be on our way to a really good event. So that's it with there. I did have number 2, following up on Christine's about the site committee for the international conference in San Francisco. I have sat on the committee meetings over the last several months. I'm not real active in doing some of their fine work by choice, but have been kind of following it. And they hope to change it to a host event committee rather than a attracting committee, whatever you want to call it. And then again, they'll find out in January or February. I think they're pretty optimistic they're going to get it. There's been some great support from the city of San Francisco. They're donating Moscone Center, which is about a $600,000 tab. They're providing all the amenities of Golden Gate Park, the DeYoung Museum and the Science Museum at no cost. They're going to give tickets out. The hotels have all been pretty well established. So I think it's a very strong case. Something that somebody mentioned. Yeah, San Francisco does have a bad rep right now, but they've addressed that. There was a meeting with Mayor Breed at the San Francisco Club a few months ago. She's been very supportive and very frank about some of the issues in the city that need to be covered. So I'm pretty optimistic we'll get it. Our only competition right now is Minneapolis. So it's between Minneapolis and San Francisco. So we'll see what happens. Next is district training. It's pretty well organized for all of us here on the board. It's going to be April 6th, which is a Saturday. April 5th is the social. And I was thinking before my time came here, it would really be cool if we could get the district board there and we could announce and not only see each other, but let the district know who our district board is. So if all of you could make that, I think that would be fabulous. We'll have a social on Friday night, a dinner, and I'm going to give Tom a minute to speak or less. And so you'll be hearing from him. And so anyway, put that on your calendars. And I did make a note, perhaps we could talk about leadership, at some point, Tom. And if you have other ideas for district training, let me know. But I think we're well on our way. I've contacted all the folks that are going to be doing the sessions. Christine's going to be helping, and Tom, and a lot of other folks. So I think it'll be a good event. Now we'll start registration in a few weeks. Valerie's putting that together. What else? Pets, we're planning pets. That's going really, really well. There's a large committee, Far West Pets, that puts that together. And then there's 8 districts that participate, all of us district governor elects. And it's been a very good process. I think we're going to have a very strong pets. Dustin and Tom, that in the past, it's been a little bit of a struggle where to have the assistant governor's role at pets. And there's been, I think, a large breakthrough with that. They're going to have a separate 2.5-hour session just for the AGs.
Perfect.
Saturday afternoon, along with the 2 district sessions where we can use the AGs as moderators, with their groups. So they'll be quite active this time. I'm still trying to get some budgetary numbers. Dustin, I sent you an email either this morning or yesterday, and just take a look at that. And the group we met the other day just has some budgetary concerns, which needs to come back to our district as well, on the cost of the suites and so forth. So Carol, hopefully I can get some budget numbers to you for that as well. Once I hear back from the main thing. Did you want to say something, Dustin?
No, you pretty much summed it up. I was really excited to see the AG track kind of come on. That was a big thing, and I know we all kind of aligned on that early on that needed to happen, and it's going through. So I'm really excited, and Jim's pretty much said it all. Pets is going to be fun this year. So tell your president-elect if you don't have one that they don't want to miss it.
Yeah, no, it's been a really good process. I think that pets is going to be a step, is taking a step forward in both the program, the speakers, utilizing the AGs. And this was, groundwork laid really with Tom and Jennifer and Dustin over the last few years to push forward some of the changes that need to be made. And I think that it's come to fruition. It's been a very good, a very great relationship, I think, between the DGEs and the committee. Real positive, and they're real positive too. So just to finish up, I've been attending the SCART dinners. I did go up to Eureka for their 100th anniversary, and Mary was there, and Tom, and I thought that was a fabulous event. I'm a little chagrined that there's all these celebrations going on Tom's year. I'm not much, although my club, Petaluma Valley, will have its 50th next year. And I've promised that the district governor would be there.
Great, I'll speak for you.
No, Tom.
It's okay, yeah.
And outside of that, GETS training, my training before the Zone Institute begins November 5th. So I'm looking forward to that. And also the Institute and graduation and all that good stuff. And I believe Tom is planning a big party for me.
Huge. Going to have 4 people there. It's going to be great. And by the way, Jim, just that you know, I mean, if there's anything that you need me to do, I'm pretty much, when I go to pets, I'm there just to support you. So if there's anything that you need from me, don't hesitate to reach out and ask. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Great.
Well, thank you for that. All right. So we have a $4,200 a year insurance policy that we carry for claims that are non-liable to the district. In other words, Rotary Youth Exchange, when these kids come over, they have to have an insurance program. They have to have insurance for themselves, fairly substantial. The Rotary International carries an insurance policy for us. If there's an event that we're doing and we are considered liable, then Rotary International has an insurance for us to cover a fairly substantial amount for any kind of activities that go off or any costs. But several years back, Wolf picked up on an idea for an insurance policy that would cover those issues that we are not liable for as a district, so that a youth could be insured, whatever, that they would be compensated if in fact it was something outside of our program. It wasn't something that was affiliated with our program. Now, David McDonald was the broker on that and put that in place. As David McDonald is now out of the district and living down in San Diego, he suggested, well, we ought to talk to Renee Hyde, who's an insurance agent in Windsor. And Renee has been totally involved with the Rotary Youth Exchange for years. And I gave her the policy to take a look at, and her recommendation is that it really is a minimalist policy, that the dollars that would be paid out would be no greater than $24,000 if in fact there was an incident. And for the fact that we've been paying $4,200 a year since this was implemented by Wolf many years ago, we could have just banked that money and covered our costs rather than sitting here and paying $4,200. Now, this did get renewed in the summer. However, if we cancel the policy, we should get a return on some of the dollars back to us. And that's going to be my suggestion based on the conversations with Renee, that it doesn't make sense. You know, we've got a policy for basically that's not doing us any good. And even if we had to draw down on it, the hoops we'd have to jump through would be pretty dramatic, and the payout on it would be very minimalist anyway. So that's my suggestion. And probably I would ask that this would be a board vote on it. So I'm going to propose that we eliminate the $4,200, allow for Carol, you'd be the one to send them off something to ask them for the return on it. Yeah, and ask Carol to go ahead and see what we can get back for a return for the balance of the year. And just going forward, we won't go into this particular type of policy. Any discussion?
Well, I would move to eliminate the policy immediately.
Yeah.
I would second that.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Okay. All right. Great. Thank you very much for that. Rotary Youth Exchange. So now we received a letter from Wolf regarding Rotary Youth Exchange, which does a particular type of background check that's required from IntelliCorps. And what that is specific to Rotary Youth Exchange. Wolf, as the Rotary Youth protector, if you will, I don't know, what is his title on that? It's District Youth Protection Officer. He's suggesting that a better program is live scan. My concern is that we can do live scan. I know that we've done it in the past. The cost factor to do both of these might be, you know, overkill a little bit, but he would love to see us move to a live scan, which is something that California DOJ prefers. However, because of Rotary Youth Exchange through Rotary International, we are caught up in the policies of this other annual background check. And I'm going to suggest that this is an interesting proposal, interesting letter, and I would like to put this off and put this onto our agenda for the January meeting so that we can have somebody from HIDER, from the Rotary Youth Exchange program to talk to us about it. I don't know, you know, I don't know that we want to put the burden of asking everybody who's working with youth to go through both of these processes. And I don't know that we want to pick up on the cost of that. I know that the process with that I went through for the Rotary Youth Exchange, as I'm sure some of you have, was pretty elaborate, and quite a few pages or quite a few elements that I had to do in order to finally be cleared. And I've never had my picture at the post office. So I don't know if in fact it's the best idea to try and flip and pick up the second one. I understand where Wolf is. I can ask Wolf if he would like to attend that meeting as well, along with Hyder, and we can get a little bit better understanding about what's going on. So if that's okay with everybody, that's
And
what I'll do then.
Tom, this is also my industry because I work in background screening, so I can provide some guidance too.
Okay, great. Well, but you're up for just seeing us postpone this until our January board meeting. Great. Okay, so that's what we'll do. We'll reach out. We'll ask for Wolf to be involved, for Hyder, or a representative from Rotary Youth Exchange, and Christine could have some input for us as well on that. So we'll put that off till January. Next, I am delighted. I know I got to say, hi, hey, Jack, good to see you as part of this. And Jack and I have had conversations about membership. We all know that at the beginning of our year, I think it was 1,864 members in our district. We're down to 46 clubs. That number, I know, is going up. And I'm really delighted to see that. And I'm delighted to see how many clubs are really excited about pulling in multiple new members into the club. I think that it's important for us to Jack to be here, as long as we have the membership dilemma that we do with regard to any kind of a service club. I think that it's really a benefit for us to have Jack as part of our board and to be speaking with us. Now, I would like to look at the opportunity to look at our bylaws and potentially create that permanent position that the membership chair would actually be an active board member. That's a move that I think that we should be entertaining. At the same time, I would just appreciate, Jack, and let you know that you have the ear of the board, and you have my commitment to you as the membership chair to have the ability to talk to us about the things that you see and the things that you are talking to others within the district about. Because as I'm out talking to people in the different clubs, I talk about the environment, I talk about membership, I talk about mental health. But when I talk about membership, I just totally believe that Rotary International, their membership drives are broken, have been broken for years on end, because it is comical to some people when I mention 1.2 million members worldwide for about the 7th or 8th time as I rattle off all the years that I've been in Rotary. And I can't believe that that their particular program is one that's necessarily moving us forward. But I do look forward to doing things however we have to do it to try and influence other people. And Jack, I just met with the largest club in our district, which is Napa Sunrise, 106 members, a huge influence of young members, young professionals that are going off and doing their own programs. They're having makeup meetings in parks where they invite all of their children to go camping and understand this whole Rotary experience. And it's just really, it's empowering. And I hope we have an opportunity to try and work with these different membership chairs for the clubs that are being extremely successful, and even to work then with those clubs that are having difficult times trying to turn that corner. So Jack, I welcome you to be here. Would you have any kind of numbers that you or comments that you can make with regard to membership numbers currently or direction?
Yeah, thank you, Tom. I appreciate the kind words. And the interesting thing about the 1.2 million members, I mean, when I joined Rotary 12 years ago, it was 1.2 million members. And since then, Rotary International is now starting to talk about 1.4 million members. And that doesn't represent any sort of growth. It just means that they've added the Rotaractors into the membership count. So that growth is kind of fictitious. So yeah, I agree with you also that the campaigns, the membership campaigns that Rotary International has been pursuing has been sort of broken. And there really does need to be something different that's done. I mean, who was it, Einstein, that said when you keep doing the same thing over and over again and you expect the same result, that's the definition of insanity. And the membership chairs that I've spoken to have indicated that they've tried all sorts of different things, and they're getting like 1 or 2 different leads. And I think there needs to be a greater effort in increasing our reach in terms of awareness building. And a couple of things that we're looking at. They include looking at, well, we have a membership seminar that's coming up next weekend. And that's going to be run concurrently with Jennifer's foundation seminar. And it'll be put on by myself, and Maureen Merrill's going to help. And we're going to talk about possibly changing a little bit of the direction that we're taking, and do a couple of proactive efforts, such as leads data mining. And by that I mean that we get a bunch of leads from RI. And by the way, our representative, this is for Tom, Angela Lopez, I think she is, at least for me, she was extraordinarily helpful. not only because of her responsiveness, but also she said that she was most recently past president of a club in the Phoenix area, and her club not that long ago had over 400 members, and right now it's down to I think it was down to less than 100. So this is a decline that Rotary has been experiencing, not just in the US, but the US, Canada, and Europe. It seems to be a general decline of service organization membership throughout most of the, certainly throughout most of the English-speaking world. And that has a lot to do with the way that our culture is evolving, where we're becoming much more, how would I say this? We're becoming much more device dependent. The way that we interact with other groups, you know, our social interactions have changed, and we're much more comfortable, for example, using a Zoom meeting or getting on a FaceTime call than we would be attending regular club meetings. But even organizations such as volunteer fire departments are in decline. But anyway, I kind of digressed a little bit. We get a bunch of leads from Rotary International, and yeah, we'll see that maybe 2 or 3 leads are in a particular club's area. So let's say I see something from Santa Rosa, and it's fits in Santa Rosa Sunrise. You know, we'll pass that on to our membership chair in that particular club. They go out and contact 1 or 2 different lead prospects, and hopefully they can close a few. However, over the past couple of years, you know, due to the COVID shutdowns, there have been leads that have been coming in, and they were generated by people that were tended to be somewhat isolated. They were on to do something, engage with other folks, and get involved in some sort of service activity. But the clubs weren't really in a position to start recruiting these folks because they were almost in a state of shutdown themselves. Well, those leads are still sitting there, and they haven't been acted on. So one of the things that I'm going to encourage is that all the clubs get access to the leads that have been coming in over the past couple of years, so that they can mine them and go back and you know, explore a lead that may be 2 or 3 years old. Somebody expressed an interest in Rotary back then, they're probably still interested. Also, I think that as a district, we need to encourage retention efforts, because we are losing members lately. I'm going to talk about the numbers in just a second, but we are losing members because of, let's say, job transfers or relocations. But also, you know, some people have just been losing interest after about 2 or 3 years of membership, and they say, well, this really isn't for me. So I'm going to move on. But I think that clubs have to do a better job of not just trying to find new members, but retaining the members that they have. The numbers themselves that I saw were, at the beginning of the year, our district had 1,810 members, which is 107 down year to year. And most recently, these are the September numbers, I think we're up to 1,883. So the trend is up, even though the fact that what are we down 2 clubs, Tom?
Down 2, right.
Yeah. So I think we're at what, 46?
46 clubs.
Yeah. So we're trending upward. A lot of that has to do with Napa. And I think that East West is doing, in Santa Rosa, is doing a pretty good job of increasing their numbers. At the seminar, I've asked Julie Montgomery to be a co-presenter also, because she's doing some fairly imaginative things in the East West club. She'll be attending, and I think the prospects are pretty good for, if not completely returning to where we used to be, which was around 2,500 members in the district, at least reversing the trend and getting ourselves back over 2,000 pretty quickly.
Yeah, let me just suggest that, I mean, I am a member of a traditional club, and I believe that there's a huge commitment back into that traditional club, where you're there once a week, hell or high water, except in my case, only this year as the governor, but that you're there and participating. I also talk about, because there are clubs, Jack, that you're going to find if you're talking to some of these different membership chairs, there are clubs that are having a hard time finding the speakers, having a hard time finding projects. The model that Julie Montgomery really kicked off with regard to that club, to be able to have 2 times a month for a speaker and then a social and a project, is actually a pretty strong model. And I know that I talked to someone in St. Helena who's reaching out to talk to Julie about potentially that could be their move, that that club could alter and change the way that they are to be able to follow what I do think could be a model for the future for what Rotary could be going toward. Not to take anything away from a traditional club, but the idea of having great speakers 2 times a month and having a social that keeps you connected, and then having that opportunity to work on a project together, it means there's a commitment to finding projects to work on. And that is what is going to keep us all engaged with one another as we move forward. So I'm really pro on what that is. I'm glad you're going to do that. I do think it might be really enhance some of your training if you brought in whoever the membership chair is for the Napa Sunrise, because their model for bringing in young professionals, and I'm not talking about 20-year-old tellers. I'm talking about people who are establishing themselves in the business and actually, but still in that early stage with parenthood and everything, and that are extremely committed to what's going on. So I think there's success stories that we really need to focus on and bring back to the group on the whole. And I'm excited to have you there for that.
Yeah, and also, I don't know if Julie shared with you how they communicate what they're doing to not just to their membership, but also to anybody who has any contact with them. Is they do a emailing of their speaker calendar. So let's say the next month out, you're going to have this speaker, and 2 months out, you're going to have these speakers over here. And also they list all the projects. So not only do the members know who's going to be attending their club to do presentations, but anybody who's ever had any contact with East West could look at let's say a particular project or a particular speaker and say, hey, that looks pretty cool. I want to be part of that. So they've done a very good job of increasing their awareness building and reach by doing this emailing. And that's something I'd like to see all the clubs adopt.
Can I, you brought to my attention, and actually it had been brought to my attention prior months ago, last spring, actually, the idea of NorCalRotary.org, which is the website that was created by, I think it's a consortium of 4 different districts that have put this thing together with an effort to try and reach out and let people know that how cool Rotary is. And it's a nice website and all, but I think I suggested I have a few concerns. I have reached out to some of the governors that have been involved with that program, and they're getting me some stats on the number of people. And I know that there's other governors that this is a $5,000 commitment for a 3-year program to be a part of this thing and to support this NorCal Rotary. But at the same time, I'm listening to Claire Roberts at 5160, I think it is, saying, she's having a very hard time trying to convince herself that the $5,000 investment is actually going to pay off, or that it's paid off at all. But I will wait to look at some of those stats. I'm not necessarily aggressive for that right now, as you know, Jack, but I'm willing to look at other tools that we can do as well to try and do some things. We do, I said earlier that we've donated a couple of websites back to the district, including the mentalhealth5130.org. And there's another one too that we've done called givingtime.org, which is supposed to take away the onus of just, hey, Rotary's giving time or giving time to Rotary. It's just giving time. The idea being that we ask people in a community just to lend a hand. Here's a project we're doing. You want to come out and help us. And that's a program too that we have going on right now. And I'd ask you, Jack, take a look at it and see what you think about that. Anybody, take a look at it and see what you think. But so I'll wait for the stats on that. We'll continue that conversation on NorCal. You know, if in fact they've got it there for the 3 years, it's not going away right away. We'll have an opportunity to come back and circle back and figure out whether or not it's something that we want to pursue and move on. So
Either that, or maybe we could mirror our own website using that model, because I think the model is pretty good.
Yeah. And yeah, take a look at it, folks. NorCalRotary.org. Then Jack, that's it? Okay. Good. The last discussion item that I had was just, and we've already pretty much covered it, the district conference, change of venue, Sally Tomatoes, Deborah Robertson. God, I'm so happy I have her. And but I don't want to overwork her. And Carol sitting in there, and I know I've got others. And I'm going to continue to push out that if there's any clubs at all that have individuals who would like to help out on this project called the district conference, I'd love to have them. Things are moving along well. John Blount and I spent time as we were up in Eureka, and we're talking about his AV things, which is only a one-day thing, and most of the facility will handle a social that we'll do the night before on Friday, and then and he's got the full bar and the whole bit. I mean, it should be a real Rotary moment, and shuttles from what I understand too, back and forth to some of the hotels and what have you. So we have a lot to still plot for, but I'm kind of delighted that we've made this shift. It means that regardless of the weather, we won't be under the tent. We'll be in a nice room, and we can really go zero waste, which is really important to me as well. It means that we'll have dishes and glassware, and all of that just gets cleaned and reused again, and it minimizes what we're doing with regard to any kind of debris that we would be creating. That would totally go against the environmental committee's wishes. So
Hey, Tom, what are the dates of the conference?
it will be May 17th for the social, and it's a one-day conference, one and done on May 18th. And more details to follow, but basically it'll start around midday and then conclude probably close to 7:30, 8 o'clock that night. So it's yeah, we're working on some of the details, more details to come, and yeah, so that's that. Anyway, any other comments or whatever for the good of the order?
I do have one discussion item to bring up. And it kind of ties into everything we've been talking about, but being chair of pets this year, it's obvious that clubs are having hard times finding president-elects. The hardest clubs are the small clubs. They're kind of dwindling down, or they're just kind of at that weird inflection point where, you know, they're a small club and they've got to send someone to pets. Like we talked about earlier, prices aren't going down. They're just not. And we've done our best as a committee to keep pets as reasonable and as low as we possibly can for what it is. Having 8 districts involved really helps economy of scale in that regard, and kind of get a lot out of what we offer. That said, I've been talking a little bit with governor-elects and other people, thinking about, you know, and this may open up a can of worms one way or the other, but having districts have some sort of support or subsidy or something for small clubs or new clubs or something to support their president-elect going to pets. It is an important component of club strength, a really important component of it. And it's something we're just going to have to meet head on. And this is something I'd like the board to think about, you know, not necessarily today, but going forward, and maybe keep on the agenda and keep on the front burner, because it's a real problem, and it's not going to get any better anytime soon.
Dustin, it was my
and Tom-
understanding.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
sorry, Tom.
I was going to say, just okay, Jim, you go first.
I apologize. I was just saying, and I'll direct this to Tom and Dustin, then Tom, you can make your comment. Is this something we could both discuss at our budget meeting and then also put on a calendar for January, which so since that's, Pets is in March, so I would be sensitive to that as well. In trying to plan this. By the way, I forgot to mention, of the 46 clubs, 36 now have president-elects.
Yes.
So, which is pretty good, but 10 are
Yes.
still
Great.
making a decision. Yeah. So, but anyway, all I was going to say, Tom, and I interrupted you, was I think this is really important as well, sitting in on Dustin's committee. If we could talk both at the budget meeting with Carol and then perhaps as a actionable board item next time around.
Okay. I was going to say too, Dustin, I know I had talked to someone that was saying at the, maybe it was John Blount, but saying something about the idea we continue to send down anybody who's going to be the president, even if they've been a president 2 times before or whatever, and that a modified program for some of those people, that they would be able to come down, have a class that's basically more like a refresher. I understand the opportunity for them to intermingle with others that are coming in as presidents, but I also think that you don't need to be hit over the head with the same stuff that you've heard several times out. And there's a lot of clubs that are dealing with multiple time presidents. And I would throw that question: is there a limit to the number of times that somebody can be a president? In other words, Ferndale is talking about, can we get somebody who's been a president 2 times to be able to come back again? Or is there a rule? I have not found anything. As I've searched around, I can't find anything that says that we can't allow for somebody to come back in again. Maybe it's the continuum that you're not allowed to be president on a continuum, although we have Annalise in Eureka, who is the second year around because of a death in the club. The previous president passed away. So different scenario there. However, I do think if there's a modified program for past presidents to deal with at Pets, that would be a benefit. And my question again, is there any limit to the number of times that somebody can be president?
Yeah, let me hit both of those. So we also had Carl Holbert in the Garberville Club. I think he was president 4 times in a row. So there really isn't a limit that anyone is going to enforce at all. It's most important that clubs have a president and that president has been qualified to be president, and that's it. That's, and honestly, we've got, Carl 4 times, maybe 5. And, people have been president 20 years ago and come back and are president again. So that's all fun. That's fine. And, there's no rule around that.
Yeah.
The second question is yes. So this year, one of the other things we're doing at Pets is we're having a course specifically for return presidents. So
Great.
they'll have a different class track, and they'll actually be, with other cohorts that are in the same situation. So we are sensitive to that and trying to. That's one of the big draws about bringing people to Pets, because you're right. If they just learned the same stuff last year, the logic is, well, what is it? You can make an argument 5 years ago, if you weren't president, there's obviously a lot that's changed, and so on and so forth. But year over year, if we don't have something new to offer, then then it is the same. And so this year, yes, that is going to be changed, and it will be changed going forward. And we'll continue to adjust. But yes, there is a course for repeat presidents, and hopefully co-presidents as well. I don't know that we're there yet this year, but that's becoming a popular option for
Yeah.
clubs that are having trouble finding presidents, is co-opting the gear, whether it's 2 or 3 or 4 people. So
Yeah, they're gonna put on the registration whether you're a new president or a repeat president. And then the committee is gonna group that in a way where they'll attend classes together. So they'll have classes for repeat presidents different than classes for new presidents. So I thought it was a great idea. So that's something that the committee is to be commended for in doing that.
Yeah, I think that was an idea that Dustin and I brought up last year.
If
Yes,
I could add one thing really quickly, the
Yeah.
first time I was president in my class, I think there was maybe 1 or 2 that were repeats. The second time I was president, which was 2 years ago or last year, there were a bunch in the class who were repeats. We call them retreads. And yeah, so the number of retreads is dramatically increasing, and it's probably going to continue.
yeah, no, thanks for that reinforcement, because that's just what we see. And just so y'all know, it's not just our district. This is
Yeah.
this is a Rotary issue. So thank you for taking the extra time to think about it and get it up on the agenda. And that's all I'll have to say about this this afternoon.
Great. Well, unless there's anything else, is there? Do we have to make a motion to adjourn? Who's
I
going to
will
make
so
that?
move.
In a second?
I'll second.
Perfect. Darren, I know you were chomping at the bit to be the second on that, you know?
So
Yeah.
I'll withdraw my second.
Yeah, all right. Darren will take the second. Okay, all those in favor? And
Aye.
I can only tell you, thank you so much. I hope that everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving coming up. I know I'll see some of you before then, but and I'll look forward to seeing some of you at the Institute as well. Or maybe that's just
The
Jim.
foundation dinner, maybe?
Hi. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. We will be at the foundation dinner. Yes. Looking forward to it, you know. And Jack, maybe I'll get to drop in and sit in on a couple of your sessions. That'd be great. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Go off and have a fun day.
Right?
Thank you all.
Bye now. Thank you, Mary. Bye-bye.